All right, we're going into the second segment of our discussion on the just concluded governorship election in Ekiti State, where the candidate of the All Progressives Congress, Dr. John Kayode Fayemi, has been declared the winner.
Yes, indeed. Also referred to as JKF.
Yeah, JKF.
All right, we'll now hand you over to our TVC News senior correspondent, Ayodele Zubaku, who is still very much in Ekiti, and I'm sure he's had too much pounded yam and bushmeat there. Can you confirm?
If you have the time.
We should go see. All right, it's almost a wrap with this governorship election, the 2018 governorship election here in Ekiti State, and ultimately, John Kayode Fayemi of the All Progressive Congress was actually declared the winner with 197,000 votes across the 12 local governments, and the runner-up that race is the People's Democratic Party candidate, that's the Deputy Governor Olusola Eleka, with 178,000 votes, and it was recorded that he won 4 local governments. Ishola Fakunda is a lawyer, a public affairs analyst, is with me to do a post-mortem on what happened on Saturday.
Thank you. Good morning, Ayo.
How did the election, we saw the results.
Yes.
How did we find ourselves in this neck-on-neck race?
Well, because let me first congratulate myself, the APC. And when I say myself, because this election became very personal to a whole lot of us. Now, the question you asked me, people had to go and work. There's been 4 years of a governor that has cannibalized people intellectually.
I would like you to tone down the choice of your words, please.
Well, I think that's the best way I can use it, to be very honest with you. If I'm insulting or affecting anybody's sensibilities, then I will apologize for that. But the reason I've used that, analysis, that phrase, is because, look, the difference between right and wrong is known to a whole lot of people. Look at where Ekiti State is now. We've taken several steps backwards. What we had to do was go and sit down. It's not about brawn, but about brains now. If you look at the APC as a party, especially the Dr. John Kayode Fayemi political family, a lot of people had to sit down and say to themselves, it's not about grabbing power now, it's about re-engineering the society, our society.
In all this re-engineering, Olusola Eleka described the exercise as the most audacious electoral robbery of our recent history. He even said security agencies, connivance with the INEC, went about harassing and brutalization of voters on a massive scale. Those were the choice of his words in his press conference yesterday.
Well, I believe the good professor had to say something. That's what I'll put it down to. He's entitled to say whatever he wants to say because, he's the co-candidate, isn't it? I'll use that word co-candidate because we all know who was campaigning. Let me read out some of what he said in his speech, right? That the harassment and brutalization of voters on a massive scale, especially in Ekiti, Ikere and the suburbs, I found that very ridiculous because they won in Ado and they won in Ikere. So, and the wins in Ado and Ikere for them are like good wins for them. So, if actually the APC was brutalizing people on Saturday, would they have won in Ado? Would they have won in Ikere, his home state, town? So, the plethora of errors that even comes with the statements that we're hearing, it's unfathomable. This is elections. This is democracy. Election is about numbers. It's about work. The results that you see is evidence of hard work. Hard work by a whole lot of people that have to go into their communities.
Another group called Coalition of Observers Groups and Civil Society Organizations actually decried the level of harassment and intimidation, and they said they were going to come out with a substantive report with evidence
on Wednesday,
to show that
they show anybody that
wasn't free and
anybody that has got evidence should come out. Look, this is election. We've just held an election. If you have, there are laws guiding this, isn't it? If these people that you're talking about, this organization, the Americans were in town, the European Union were in town, we had foreign observers in town, maybe they will release their own observations and findings as well. So if these people have it, we're waiting on Wednesday, let them come out with it. Whoever is aggrieved or wherever the pendulum swings, you know, you have a recourse.
Did your party induce voters with money?
No, no, and no. Listen, people ask politicians this all the time, and I watched your program yesterday that people were asking that. Who would induce anybody with money? We've not been in government, we've not been in power. A whole lot of us, I had to leave my work, go into my community, sit with my people.
And you didn't
in my unit.
share money?
How? Where did I get the money from? Do you want me to show you my bank account? Were you not in this, if you were in, I'm sure you were in this state, you were hearing alerts going up and down. Was the alert being sent by Dr. John Kayode Fayemi or the APC? Alerts were being sent to people, 3,000, 4,000, before the election. We won't be mentioning bribery and corruption because some people's sensibilities might be affected. Nobody is pointing at that. The good Prince, Dayade, was on channels yesterday. They asked him the same question. You're asking me again, and I'm saying no. But look, the old women in my unit is my family compound. Do you know how long I've been taking care of these same women that 4 years ago, Dr. Fayemi's administration was paying 5,000 naira to every month to take care of them, were lied to that when we become governor, we will pay you 10,000, didn't get a dime. It is just reasons that people brought into this. People were able to think, the Yorubas will tell you that, meaning you can only deceive people once or twice. You can't deceive people all the time. Deception and indolence is an art that we need to banish in Ekiti State. People saw through deception. The government must now come in and try and ban indolence by creating jobs, which this governor has done before.
But you can't take it away from the People's Democratic Party to have pulled, you know, your candidate actually, the governor-elect actually won with, 19,000 votes, or just a little over 19,000 votes.
Election is a game of numbers. One vote can win anybody an election. They worked hard.
When Ayofayoshi contested in 2014,
yes,
he won with 84,000 votes.
What are the factors that backed up that election? Come on, Ayo, we've gone over these grounds before. What are the factors that backed up that election? The same things that they are complaining about now that we did not do was what they did on a massive scale. A whole lot of our boys and our men and our colleagues that were now able to go and work, because look, a lot of people actually put their lives on the line that, look, whatever this governor wants to do, come and do. We will deliver. We will do our work. Nobody was scared. Nobody was chased into the bush the way they did in 2014. Who is complaining? They are the same people who are complaining about the things that they did. It's even the fear of what they did that they couldn't now do in this election that they thought would be done. Look, where did you think the money will come from? Where did you think the backing will come from? Where is the intimidation? In my hometown in Okemesi, the appointment, Larry Olayinka, couldn't even come to town to vote.
Because maybe probably he had security people intimidating would-be voters, or there
so are you telling
targeted
me, look,
to be arrested?
Larry Olayinka is the key man, right? Will he not have security? He will have a security with him. Go and ask anybody in Okemesi how many soldiers they saw in Okemesi that day. In my polling unit, we had regular policemen and civil defense that were assigned to that unit by INEC. The agent of the PDP were my little cousins that had been brainwashed to do that. They stood side by side with my agent, with our party agent, and everybody actually went and exercised their ballot rights.
In 3 months' time, John Kayode Fayemi is going to assume office officially, and
thank God for that.
What we're looking at, we're looking at the backlog of salaries.
Yes.
We're looking at pensioners that have not been paid.
Yes.
And we know the IGR of Ekiti is almost nothing to write home about. And if you go to the debt management office, the debt profile of Ekiti State is unimaginable. So how do you intend
what happened to the IGR that Dr. Kayode Fayemi was generating when he was governor? What happened to that IGR? We need to ask questions. We will ask those questions. Whether Dr. Fayemi likes it or not, people will insist that he asks those questions. Where was almost R1 billion monthly IGR that it was generating. Where was that? Where is that structure that they put in place to generate that? Where is that structure? That's number one. Now, let me say this to you. You don't learn to be governor on the job, right? You learn to be governor by using your brains. He's done it once before. That was why we campaigned on JKF, Lair Konsi. That was why people actually voted, because they had confidence in him, which they don't have in these deceptors. Well, you don't like that choice of word, but people have been saying it in town, but we thank God for the result. Anybody who is aggrieved, the law courts are there.
Yeah.
That's where they should go to.
On that note, I'd like to thank you, Ishola Fakmunda.
It's a pleasure
lawyer
once again.
And public affairs analyst. Over to you, Mike and Ngozi in Lagos.
All right. Thank you so much, Ayodele. We hope to have you back soon, but certainly you'll come back with all the news and developments going on and what Ekiti people are expecting from the government and also in the transition. Now we have a guest in the studio here in Lagos, Biodun Showomi. He's a public affairs analyst, joining us to discuss this as well. It's nice to see you.
Good morning.
Thank you. And we also have Adewale Adeoye, Executive Director, Journalist for Democratic Rights. Good morning.
Yeah, good morning.
Nice to see both of you.
Yeah.
All right, Biodun, let me start with you. You monitored the election. I'm aware you followed the election and all of that. How satisfied are you with the conduct and the process of the election?
It's a much more improved election. No matter how you look at it, the security situation was a lot better than what we used to have. INEC also did their job thoroughly. Ballot papers, materials were delivered in time, and the election was conducted. It was a more peaceful atmosphere. Then you have the results were delivered in time. There was no such delay as we witnessed in Osun when Aregbe was contesting for the second time. We didn't have that delay, so it was well conducted. Largely, apart from one or two areas where PVC malfunctioned, the card reader malfunctioned, largely in almost 99% of the situation, the card readers function properly, and you can't, it's technology. You would expect one or two to go wrong. So INEC actually did prepare very well for this. And if you are to use the criteria of to determine whether the election, was successful or not, you have to look at whether it was free or fair. The election, in my view, was free, and it was also fair because people were able to cast their votes freely. People moved around in different places. We didn't have people being picked up like we had in 2014 when soldiers would just emerge and start arresting people. That didn't happen. People were able to keep, including old women, people saw that, and they were able to cast their votes freely without intimidation. The only drawback...
But the governorship candidate for PDP in his press release yesterday said that there was high incidence of harassment and intimidation of their candidates and their supporters, party loyalists.
No, if that happened at all, that's not widespread or not known to many people because there are so many people on the ground, so many observers have filed in their reports, have
because
never
they used the
read
word
anything
on a
like
large
that.
scale.
I don't think so.
Directly. He used the word large scale.
Well, he's saying large scale, but if it's large scale, substantial enough to affect, the conduct of the election, that will be known to the media, that will be known to everybody. We didn't have reports of all this. But it's expected that, in an election, you are bound to have this kind of situation. The fact of the matter is, even if there are infractions, are they substantial to affect the outcome of the elections? That's the key issue. There is no election that you can have 100%, peace. You can have it 100% spot on. But the fact of the matter is, if there are infractions, are they substantial to affect the outcome of the election or to discredit the outcome of the election? In my view, no.
Okay.
The only major drawback is this issue of reports of money exchanging hands, which shows our democracy is still at its infancy.
We'll certainly come to that.
All right, bringing it to you, Adewale Adeoye. Of course, definitely, you were on ground.
Yes,
Even before the
there.
elections, we had you here
Yes.
a couple of times.
Yeah.
You know, and we do know where you stand. But tell us, what is your impression about the outcome of the election? The same question I asked, our first panel of, discussants. The margin, 197 over 178, barely 19,000 difference. Is it a reflection of the mind of Ekiti people going to the ballot that they were not angry enough or even angry at all at whatever Ayo Fayose had delivered to them in the last 4 years?
Well, I think we have to look at this issue it's many sides. You have a government that has been in power for 4 years. A government that has been able to build a strong layer of youths that are made to believe that life is about tokenism. They are handed, given handouts, 500 naira, 1,000 naira, of this. So a kind of a new sociology, was being built over the past 4 years. And it affected the consciousness of the average Ekiti person. The value system was diminished. The heritage was dismantled. So over a period of 4 years, younger people, who have never had experience of what good governance is all about for a very long time, and they are now old enough to vote, and are being introduced to a new lifestyle. So a lot of these people were railroaded into, voting just based on what they believe is about. That's what governance is all about, handing over money to people and all that. And it was a conscious process that had even institutions built in local governments where you have youths organized into groups. Every Sunday they do panelian for them. These are youths that don't have jobs and all. So when the election was coming, they were deluded, because that's a new culture they have formed, being introduced to them. And of course, many people had to vote based on this, kind of mechanism. And of course, you had the government that was run on propaganda on the pages of newspapers, which affected the way people perception. The government was very good on social media, a lot of propaganda, and a lot of people believe some of these things. So they are, and of course, they also take the fact that you have a government that is in power. It's not always easy to remove a government that is in power. It's always a very difficult thing. But I think at the end of the day, the will of the people prevailed. At the end of the day, people, even if the difference was just about 10 votes, at least at the end of the day, people were able to speak that, look, we don't longer want this trend to continue in the Ekiti State. But we must also bear in mind that it should also raise a lot of concern for the APC, that it's not going to be an easy battle. Because with being in power at the federal level, and then we have a narrow margin of 19,000 plus, it means the APC needs to do a lot of work to ensure that, the Southwest, it can reclaim the Southwest convincingly. So I think that both parties should learn lessons from what has happened in Ekiti State.
Okay. Abiodun, let me come to you on this. You mentioned the issue of the role of money earlier on. We heard of the reports that reached us, in fact, reports that were public, showed that lots of governors relocated to Ekiti, both on both sides of the divide. What we know is that Ekiti people are very highly learned people, enlightened people, but we see money still, flowing like water. What role do you think money played in deciding this election?
Oh yeah, well, when it comes to money, we all need money. Don't forget that workers in the Ekiti State, it's true.
But
look,
not tokenism.
Civil servants in
Ekiti
Ekiti State were not paid for 5 months. Then you have pensioners not being paid for 10 months. Then you have local government workers being owed 8 months' salary. So it means basically some workers have never received a penny this year, including pensioners.
But you recall that Fayose actually accused the federal government of withholding those funds so that this will form part of the narrative that his government did not pay salaries for that long.
Oh, but there is no way how that can be credible, because Ekiti State has never complained of not receiving the federal allocation on a monthly basis. So that can be credible. And why did he wait till now, till election period, to start saying that to people? We all know he embarked on White Elephant projects. You have a major bridge in Ekiti, you know, which he didn't need to do that. So he decided to focus on his legacy project, and that's where the money went. You know, we all know where the money went. So at the end of the day, he was not able to generate enough IGR, you know, to fund government expenses. That's the truth of the matter. But when you look at it from the point of view of the ordinary people in Ekiti, Ekiti does not have industries. So therefore, the civil servants are a major stakeholders in the economy of Ekiti State. If you don't pay them their salary, what it means is the woman selling gari down the road cannot sell the gari. There will be nobody to buy it, nobody to buy bread. So people were really, really very hungry. What many people found insulting was the approach of Fayose a day before the election, a day or two before the election, when people you have not paid their salaries for 8 months, you know, 6 months, 5 months, you suddenly sent 3,000, 5,000 naira alert through the government finance system to their phone to say they should take that, you know, as bribe for the election. That is totally unacceptable. They would rather prefer to be paid their salary. Maybe the result of the election will have been different. But he chose to do that because he didn't have the money to pay.
Yeah, but,
you know,
did you think that from what Ngozi asked earlier on, it seems like people were not even as angry enough to express that in their vote.
In spite of the fact that
because
they were hungry,
the margin,
there were a lot
margin
of other
is
factors. There were a lot of other factors
Like
apart from not paying salaries. Fayose was able, you know, to play on two factors. One is religion. The other issue is the S-men, you know, the scaremongering, racing issues and all that. And that played out very, very well, you know, with a lot of people. Don't forget that Ekiti is a rural state. Many people are farmers. So that played out very, very well with them. Genuinely, people were apprehensive of, you know, the S-men attacks, you know, raiding their farms and all that. So he was able to play that up. So, and the people genuinely felt threatened in a way that
a lot of people saw that as handling the issue decisively and the way it's supposed to be.
That's correct. Okay. He successfully created that impression that he was dealing with. But when you
is it really an impression? Is it just an impression?
When you now ask yourself, how many ex-men were convicted in Ekiti? How many?
Well, very interesting question, but we'll still come back to that if we have time to explore that. Dr. Fayemi, the governor-elect has said, I will change or restore, more or less, the values of Ekiti people. Exactly what are these values? And then again, of course, it seems that Fayemi has his job cut out for him. What and what do you think he should begin to put in place now, even before the swearing in, so that as soon as he becomes governor,
well, Ekiti,
it hits the ground running?
People are known for honesty, for integrity. But these values, these attributes have suffered setbacks in the past years. And even when you are talking about this introduction of money, bribing people, it started mainly in 2003 when, you know, Fayose came for the first time. You know, it was dishing out people to money to people, handsets, you know, kerosene, water, going from one village to the other and all that. That was where that problem actually started. And sometimes, you know, when you now have a bull in the China house, you need to be very tactical in terms of trying to get that bull out. So a lot of people also felt that to tackle him, you also have to take the battle to his own field using the same, you know, mechanism that he used. So I think part of the things I expect the incoming governor to do is, first of all, he needs a very lean cabinet, because the resources of that state has been depleted over a period of 4 years. I don't expect him to have a very large cabinet. Then I also think he needs to partner with international community. That was one of his strengths when he was in power. As soon as this man came to power, the international donor organizations and all that, they couldn't live by his own standard. They had to live. And he has that credibility in terms of trying to draw partnership from the global community because of his experience over the years. So I expect him to explore windows of opportunities across the world in order to re-energize the economy. Look at the only factory in that town, in that state, the brick industry is collapsed. The Gosi industry that, you know, we used to produce water, and, you know, a lot of people are working there. That place has collapsed. The Kogosi, one water spring, used to draw about 20,000 people every Christmas, tourists from all over the world. That is gone. The tourist hub, that we wanted to create and all that, all those things have been destroyed because we are the government that felt that, look, we have to, people's problems is their need today that should be dealt with, not their future. So I hope it's going to set up a new paradigm that will shift that economic policy from tokenism to building a future for Ekiti people. So it needs a very small cabinet. Then it needs to also re-energize the biometric system, whereby money that are going to private hands will be checkmated. The first thing Fayose did was that when Fayemi was there, if you pay any money to the account of the government, there's no way you can steal that money because of the biometric system. When he came, he dismantled that system. So a lot of money is going down to the drain that you cannot actually track down. So I believe it's going to bring down this system so that if 1 naira comes into the purse of that state, at least the state will be able to account for it.
Okay. There's usually this subtle campaign that they always say sometimes the political party at the center, you should vote so that we have the same political party at the center. And it played out in Ekiti. It played out, in fact, in most of the states, sometimes in the southwest. How well off, now that Ekiti has the same political party as the center, they've had it before, but how well off are Ekiti people when they have the same political party as the one in the federal
or how well level? Off will they be?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, in the first instance, I will never subscribe to the idea that all the states should be governed by the same party in the center, because
otherwise you have a one-party
system of government. And that's not what we want. We want a democratic system of government. We want pluralism. We want, liberal values, to be entrenched. We want proper democracy and the structures to be in place. But in relation, particularly in the case of Ekiti State, Ekiti is a state that cannot afford to stand on its own.
Why not?
Ekiti is not Lagos, is not Ogun, is not Rivers. They don't have the high GR. Ogun, Rivers, and Lagos can afford not to collect the federal allocation, and they'll still pay salaries. But that is not the same situation with Ekiti State. Unfortunately, Fayose came into office, very antagonistic. There's nothing wrong with that. I'm not averse to people disagreeing with other people, but there must be an element of cooperation in the best interest, of the development of the state. When it comes to the necessary infrastructure that needed to be developed to act as a proxy to develop the other sectors, of the Ekiti economy, he didn't do much other than focusing on a legacy project, which is the bridge. That was the only thing he focused on. And because of that, Ekiti lost out in so many things. Let me give you a good example. The school feeding program, Ekiti failed to key into it. Simply because the governor felt, it was from the center. And because of that, the spirit of cooperation and support which Ekiti needed, was not there. When you look at the salary areas, Ekiti got bailout, just like other states. So what did he do with the money? Nobody can explain that. Rather, they felt the funds were diverted to his own legacy project, which is quite unfortunate. So, in essence, in the case of Ekiti, Ekiti will do well because the economy of Ekiti State is in trouble currently. So they will do well, with a measure of cooperation with the center, with the federal government. So that's what everyone is expecting. Otherwise, I can't see how Ekiti will get the bailout to pay all those salary arrears. Even if Fayemi will start generating IGR, it means you are looking at possibly another 3 months' salaries being held before Fayose's departure. So he will be saddled with about 8, 9 months, 11 months salary arrears. So what will he do? Don't forget that since 2014, Ekiti has not paid people's gratuity. So there's a huge lot of economic problems, financial challenges, which Fayemi will face. So therefore, I think they need that level of cooperation because they don't have the economic base currently. The economic base is gone. He has to come in and reconstruct that. And he can only do that with a measure of cooperation with the federal government.
All right. Adewale, of course, you say that it will be important for Fayemi to ensure that he has a very lean cabinet because of the financial situation that Ekiti finds itself. Now, the same 8-point agenda that the people of Ekiti seem to have rejected before is the same 8-point agenda that Fayemi ran this particular election with. And this time around, well, he has succeeded. I mean, he's the governor-elect. Would you say that Ekiti people have learned a lesson? Let me not say hard.
Yeah.
Have they learned? Have they been able to differentiate between the sun and the rain? Is that what has played out right now for Fayemi to, get it?
I think the 8-point agenda was well articulated. But in the case of the PDP led by Mr. Fayoshe, there's no program of action. Even as Dr. Leka was campaigning, you cannot say whether it's a an 8-point agenda or 2-point agenda or 3-point agenda.
He had a 6-point agenda, a shield, the shield agenda.
Well, if you go through that, that agenda, because he was also going from one place to the other, and I had the opportunity of listening to him.
Yeah. You
will discover that there is really nothing fundamentally inspiring about all that the party was talking about, at least in terms of what we have seen in the past 4 years. Because when you are talking of agriculture, you are talking of health, you are talking of education, you are talking about the essentials of life. These past 4 years, we have not seen anything. Water, electricity. The only thing we can talk about is the bridge, which cost about 17 billion naira to implement. And also you talk about lock-up shops, which also got billions of naira. And I went to that
But
shop.
those basic things are still the same thing that, as a matter of fact, all the candidates, including Dr. Fayemi's
No, you see, in the case of Dr. Fayemi,
the same basic things here will provide health, will provide education.
Yes, let me give you an instance.
Yeah.
When Fayemi was there, he was able to renovate 325 secondary schools. He gave laptop to secondary schools. Every child had a laptop. Then there was the youth commercial agriculture for development, YCAD, that every area used to be setting up farm settlements. In fact, Ekiti State started producing watermelon. And they were even trying to go into production of fruits. In the northern area of that town. The whole of Oni was converted into farm settlements. This was a program that was building, that was trying to lay the foundation. But eventually when this guy came, agriculture and everything was destroyed. So when you are talking about the program that is coming up with, there is no precedent. There is nothing we can learn throughout these past 4 years to say that, when this new government comes in, it can build on. So the 8-point agenda that you said was rejected 8 years ago, if it was rejected at all, I think people have learned that you cannot build a house without an architectural design. Fayoshe never had an architectural design, and of course now the house has collapsed. So people have had the opportunity to compare the two governments, and they have seen through the lies, the propaganda, the covetous, propaganda, and then the regime of cheap propaganda that, look, there is nothing this guy can offer for us. Ekiti has become a source of ridicule. It has become an axis of evil. If you see the way people talk about us all over the world, because you have a government that, people think its image is a reflection of the collective image of Ekiti, and it's not really good for us. Look at even the way he talks. You are attacking the president, saying that he's dead, that it's not even the president, the man that is ruling us is from Sudan. All those kind of things are not moral. There are ways you have to conduct yourself as a governor, that you have to reflect the culture of Omoluabi. And I think that is what Ekiti people have been known for all over the years. Because wherever there's governance without culture, the people can never make progress.
All right, but his own perspective is that he is on the streets with the people, he connects with the people, and he is the man of the people.
What he does is to exploit the vulnerability of the people for cheap electoral gains. He will take pictures
when he goes to fry Gary and
and then he flashes the pictures everywhere on social media. You see somebody that is dying, you give him 2,000 naira, then you take picture with him, then you flash. It's even an embarrassment to these people because you are exploiting their level of poverty for your own political gains. And I'm happy that people have made up their mind that, look, enough is enough. And I hope that in future, Ekiti people, which is a state of professors and medical doctors, will not be led by someone that is lower than their own status.
All right. Biodun, show me. Let me come to you on this. In Nigeria, it is said that the kind of politics run here is the kind of politics where a winner takes all. There's a letter sent to the congratulatory letter that is circulated, reported to come from President Olusegun Obasanjo, or former president, to Fayemi. In the advice there that we read, it was saying that you should extend a hand of fellowship to all across the board, which is something one should do. But if we have to look into how Fayemi should extend hand of fellowship, what dimension should it take, really?
Yeah, there are two angles to it. One, the letter popularly written by Obasanjo, we've been reading some reports saying that he's doubting the authenticity of that, but we don't know. But let's take it, at the face value. Yes, Dr. Fayemi needs to stretch his hand of fellowship to other people because he cannot do it alone. He needs all the Ekiti sons and daughters, to focus on the economy. They need to build the economy of the state. They need to build the infrastructure. They need to focus more on education, focus more on health and other sectors of Ekiti state. When you actually look at the other angle to it, if what people are saying is that, look, let bygone be bygone, I'm afraid that will not be the case because there are outstanding cases against Fayose. It does not mean that once you've been elected or you're out of office, people will not focus on your infractions. I'm not talking of infractions committed in the last 4 years.
Yeah, but how will it be done in a way that it would not look like witch hunting? That it will not look like, yes, we have him out of the way now, now we can get him. For it to truly be a fight against corruption or questioning his stewardship while he was there.
I'm even referring to cases already in court. Fayose was being processed in court over what happened between 2003 when he got elected the first time and 2007. Don't forget you had the poultry scandal there.
Yes.
We had some killings. Daramola and some other people, all those allegations were there, and he was already being processed through the criminal justice system. He now came in, got re-elected, so those cases, got stalled because he had immunity. Now that he's going out of power, once he's out of power, those cases resume. They have nothing to do with...
Well, according to the EFCC, the party is over. Just quoting what the tweet they put out there, though they have pulled it down.
It's been taken down.
Adewale, is this, or was this a referendum on the APC versus the PDP, a referendum on Fayose versus President Buhari? Because we've been hearing, this from left, right, and center.
I think essentially the Ekiti election is local politics. The people responded to their objective situation, essentially. I don't think that everyone that voted for PDP will automatically vote for PDP at the national level. The same thing, I don't think everybody that voted for APC will automatically vote for Buhari because there are people who are not members of any political party. The two parties put together, I don't think they have membership strength of up to 400,000 people in the Ekiti state. So there are a lot of people who voted and they are not members of any political party. So I think it's just the situation in the Ekiti state. Their own local situation is what they have responded to. Like they don't want Fayose to be their governor any longer. Though there may be some people that also feel, look, we have to win this place for Buhari. But I don't think substantially that the Ekiti election was a reflection of Buhari versus. I think it was just between two candidates, in the Ekiti state, who are Ekiti indigents, and people felt this is a better candidate for them.
Will there be a need for healing to happen? Like Mike raised the question of Obasanjo's letter to Fayemi. Of course, President Buhari has said to Fayemi that he should be magnanimous in victory. Is Ekiti broken along this, political lines and what have you? Or do you think it's not such a problem?
Yeah, what you see is that if you look at the result of the election, it shows a very badly divided state. And maybe that's what is influencing some people to think they need to do some healing. But the question is this: is there an injury? What do you want to heal? People in democracy, somebody has to win. Even if it's one vote, someone has to win. What will be injurious is to fail to ensure that the cause of justice is served. For instance, if there are infractions, you can't treat it as a family affair. You know, just like what we used to have, you know, in the days of Obasanjo's, when he was president, all issues are family affair. You cannot do that. If there are infractions of the law, you cannot do that. Otherwise, we don't want to be governed by the rule of law. If there are crimes committed against the state, for instance, corruption, it has to be dealt with. I am not one of those who will advocate that you should focus on somebody because they are out of power or not. But there are issues that are outstanding which needs to be resolved. We can't start processing people through the criminal justice system and all in the name of because the state is divided, we have to stop that. We cannot do that. What about the victims? You know, that's the major issue, which we must always remember in all these cases.
Well, Fayose also showed himself to be a victim.
Well, he's saying that. Is he really, is it, look, when you look at the situation, is he really a victim? The testimony of his ADC is very clear. And if Fayose himself is injured, he should go to the hospital and get treated. I mean, they have Ekiti State Hospital there.
Right. There were videos that went viral. There were videos of him being rolled to the emergency section of the hospital.
And came out with a collar.
2014,
yeah.
the JKF was fired at him. He was shot at. The bullet hit somebody very close to him, and that person died. So this time around, we are talking about tear gas. So I think it's a bit better.
All right.
Is it tear gas or neck gas?
Well, we have to leave it here now. Biodun Showomi, thank you so much for coming on
It's
the
my
program.
pleasure.
And Adewale Adeoye, Executive Director, Journalist for Democratic Rights. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, gentlemen.